Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Park Slope food class. This is our second run doing the class virtually, and we're really fortunate to have someone who's part of our team, taught a class in early March, which was very successful. Her name is Nina, and she'll be talking about Persian cooking, but specifically in this time of quarantine, we're she'll be making simple her tag is super delicious with Nina, and she is going to make creative dishes that use simple pantry ready ingredients. We'll make a She'll make a lentil salad, a tuna fish salad with olive oil, and for kind of a dessert feeling, there'll be a honey and yogurt dip sauce. If you have questions for Nina as she's running through the class, you should put it on the chat and I'll act as the moderator, which means that I'll run through your questions and shoot any questions to her. She and I will have a verbal exchange. Sometimes she might or might not address the questions at the moment when she's making the recipes. And we're just asking that to make sure that you mute yourselves because with over 20 participants, there can be a lot of ambient noise. So a little bit about Nina. Nina Fattahi, is that how I pronounce your last name?
Exactly. Yep.
Fattahi has loved food since she was a little girl, and she helped her mother prep and cook Persian cuisine. Her palate and skills have expanded over time after traveling to 46 countries across 5 of the continents. Wow, well traveled. Without further ado, you want to take over, and we're
Sure.
really excited. Thanks,
Suni.
mm,
So a little bit about my background. I'm actually an amateur chef. I don't have any formal education, but I have been in the kitchen since I was 3 years old. And I moved to New York City when I was 20, and that's when I started really going to restaurants that were outside of Connecticut. In Connecticut, you found a lot of Italian and Greek restaurants, some Japanese, a little bit of Chinese. And then once I moved to New York, it was just like, wow, like I have to eat everything that's out there. So I'd say in my early 20s, it was a lot of restaurant visiting and eating. And then I started realizing that, you know what, I could make this stuff. So that is really where I started to experiment with different things and figure out different and new techniques, and to basically get the confidence to know that I could, one second. Okay. Sorry, I'm just trying to, okay. So I got the confidence that I knew that I could try different things. So in 2010, I moved to France for my MBA, and it was there that I really got into cooking. As my friend Stephanie, who's on this call, mentioned the food markets. Everyone knows that France is known for their amazing markets where you can get fresh produce, eggs, many types of cheese, meats. So I would go every weekend, which was the highlight of my weekend outside of studying, and bought a lot of different things and would come home and try it, and had a lot of French friends that I'd go to their home and learn different things. I met a chef who owned a restaurant, and it was there that I would go to his restaurant, be in his kitchen for hours, helping him. It was a win-win situation for both of us. He liked the extra hand, we liked the company, we got to talk about French culture, and then he also taught me a lot of what I know about formal French cooking. I moved back to the United States to New York, looking for a corporate job, and while I was looking, I got a job at a cooking studio in Chelsea, in Manhattan, where I would teach cooking classes and would do a lot of cooking events. Like, it was a lot of corporate team building events of different teams and trying to teach people how to do different techniques. And so basically that is what my background is. And in these times, so since 2013, I have been with my husband, and we cook a lot, and we've done a lot more experimental cooking. And since 2017, I have a daughter. I've been a stay-at-home mom. That has even flourished even more. She has food allergies, so we don't really go out to eat any longer. So we're always at home and cooking nutritious, delicious, and well-balanced meals for our family. So in the last four to 5 weeks, we've been in quarantine. It's, as it is for everyone, it's been really, really difficult. And so one outlet, and the only outlet I really have, because I'm taking care of my daughter all day, is to cook. We've made it a family activity so that the two of us are doing it together. I love getting her involved. I love teaching her about foods. And so I started an Instagram page to put all the photos on and to inspire people to cook basically what they probably have at home, and to, you know, start thinking about things of, okay, like I have these 5 things, maybe I can make these 2 different dishes. So I think a lot of my cooking is all about like learning about different flavor profiles and basically using the cooking knowledge I have to use those flavor profiles to cook the food. So for instance, if I want to make Thai food, I know that I need cilantro, ginger, lime, and those are like the basic, or like coconut milk. So I'll use a lot of those ingredients to come up with, like if I'm making chicken, I'll make it with those things. Or if I'm looking at Italian food, it'd be parsley, oregano, lots of garlic, olive oil, tomato. Or Moroccan, it's a lot of cumin and coriander and paprika. So that's the way I cook. I don't really look at recipes. I, know the techniques, and then I use those to come up with meals for our family. So basically that's what we're doing today. So I actually didn't go shopping for this. I don't have a ton of stuff at home right now. So I really did go into my pantry and see in my fridge and see, okay, like what ingredients do I have? What can I come up with? So what I've decided to do is put together 4 different types of lentil salad that I can teach you today. So normally I would love to use green puy lentils that are French lentils that are a bit firmer and do better in a salad because you're going to mix it with different things and you don't want it to be too mushy. However, brown lentils are fine. They're not ideal, but they're fine. That's all I had, and that's what we're going to use. I made sure to stand over it. So the way you wash these is the way you cook these. You make sure you wash them, and then you put them in a pot and get like about 3 to 4 inches, cover it with water. And what I did do is add garlic. I had some dried thyme, and I had a few bay leaves that I added to the water. Excuse me. And I just let it come to a boil, and then I turned the heat down. It was on a simmer, and cooked it for about 15 to 20 minutes, just making sure that it was soft enough to eat, but definitely didn't want to overcook it. So that's what this is. I just strained it, put it in this bowl, and essentially what I've come up with is 4 different bowls of different types of vegetables that we can make a meal from. So the first one that I'm going to start with, I would say is just I'm going to do a Mediterranean style. So this over here is, again, I could think of a million other things to put in it, but this is all I had today. And we can talk about like different ideas. So if you're looking at for themes and flavor profiles, you're thinking about Italy, Greece, like what are the ingredients that they use in their cooking, and like what are the things that are in their country. So I came up with, I had some Persian cucumbers, some artichokes. This is something that I bought at the co-op a few months ago. It's this stuff, artichokes, hearts in oil. It's a higher quality than you find in the jarred artichoke, marinated artichokes that you normally find. Normally you would just actually roast these in a pan and serve them alongside your meal. However, what I decided to do is chop up a few. I have some cherry tomatoes here, and if I had the option, I would add, I don't have as many, I would add arugula. And then also we're going to do lemon zest. I love lemon zest. It's probably the thing that I put, like the ingredient that I put in most of my foods. And if it's an Asian or Mexican flavor, it would be lime. And so I think lemon zest really elevates basically anything in the kitchen. I used to go to this amazing, when I was traveling for business, I would go to this amazing restaurant that was a Jade Beard Award winning restaurant. And I noticed, because I used to always sit at the chef's counter, I would always notice that they were constantly using zest on top of the steaks that would come out, on all the meats, and on, like, topping everything. And I love the flavor of lemon, and so that's something that I've adopted in my cooking. And so that means the microplane is a big part of my everyday cooking life as well. My microplanes use like all day long. Either it's for lemon zest, ginger, garlic. I love it. And so what we're gonna do is I'm going to simply just keep it really simple. I don't have a lot of dishes, so I'm just going to take the lentils and I'm going to add it to the Mediterranean salad. As far as ratios, I never follow measurements. I mean, obviously for baking you have to, but for cooking, I just basically wing it. If you need to, I mean, I know that I like to have a ratio of less lentils to the vegetables, just because I don't want it to be too starchy. Even though lentils are delicious and they're wonderful to have, I want to have the majority of my dish to be vegetables. However, if you don't have a lot of vegetables and you need to feed more people, you would just increase the ratio of lentils, and that's absolutely fine too. It just depends on what you have in your house and how many people you have to feed. So let me just get my microplane. So I'm going to microplane this. And as far as herbs, I would love to add parsley to this, because I'd say parsley and oregano are really dominant in Italian cooking, but I don't have any. So I did have some fresh dill. So what I'm going to do is just sprinkle some dill in here. I think that works as well. And I'm also going to add a vinegar to this. So you want to add a dressing because it's a little bit bland on its own, because it's going to be a little bit dry because lentil is naturally drier. So what I'm going to do is add a little bit of acid, which is the lemon, and then I'll be adding olive oil, and then of course salt. So I love all foods, and the only food I do not like at all is black pepper. So normally most people would add black pepper to this, but I will not be doing that. But at home, feel free to add black pepper. So I'm simply just going, again, I'm not measuring, I'm just going with my preferences. I added a little bit of olive oil and I'm just mixing up. So there you have a wonderful lentil salad. This could be a great protein and vegetable fiber-rich lunch for you, or it could be a nice side to whatever you're having for dinner. So it could be fish, meat, or you can have it on the side of pasta. That's always easy. Does anyone have questions on this? Great. So I forgot the salt. So I use at home, so I'm not at home right now, so I don't really have a lot of the ingredients that I normally have access to. I love Maldon salt because it's a great finishing salt for something like this, like a salad or on top of your fish after you've done cooking it. But I think Diamond kosher salt is great as well, and it's a great all-around salt to have in the kitchen for all uses. So this is our Mediterranean. Oh, and I forgot one other thing. Here it is. And I'm gonna add some feta cheese to it. I forgot. So it's really flexible. You really can do anything you want. One thing I think would really go with this as well is some like chopped up Havarti dill cheese. That would be really good because it's really light. It has the herbs in there that you like with Mediterranean food. I think it's perfect. So this is one dish. The next thing is I was thinking of a Mexican themed lentil salad. So again, I don't have all the vegetables in that I would normally have. So normally I would add tomato, corn, peppers, things that you normally find in Mexican in cooking, as well as cilantro. I don't have cilantro. What I do have is peppers. I have yellow, orange, and red peppers that we had at home. I have avocado, so I'll be adding avocado to the salad. as well as lime juice. So in this one, we're gonna add lime instead of the lemon because that's what goes with this flavor profile. And then lastly, so what I'm gonna do to compensate for the fact that I don't have cilantro, I don't have tomato, and I don't have like a lot of the flavors, I'm gonna add some red salsa in a jar. So it's great to follow recipes when you wanna know like, okay, what are the ingredients I'm looking for here? What do I need to put in this dish? However, there's great ways to substitute things that you might not have. Going back to that, actually, this is a great way. I have this basil pesto. I don't shop at, I don't have a Costco membership, but my brother lets me use his whenever I'm local to him in Connecticut. And I always buy this because this is a great way to get some fresh herbs if I don't have any on hand. So if I didn't have that fresh dill, I would have just put a spoonful of this basil pesto into the Mediterranean salad because it has a fresh taste to it. And the basil goes with the Mediterranean flavor profile. So there's a lot of ways to adjust recipes based on what your needs are and what you have at home. Nothing's ever going to be perfect unless you go shopping right after you've looked at a recipe and you go out and buy everything. So we're going to add some lentils to this. I'm also going to add some cumin and paprika to this as well. I would love to add some, what I really love is ground coriander, but I actually don't have any. So let me just grab the cumin. One moment, I just gotta go grab it. Seems like the cumin's disappeared, and I'm sure I'm gonna find it right after the class is over. So imagine that I've put cumin in here. I'm gonna put some paprika. I love this stuff. This is at the Co-op. It is incredible Spanish smoked paprika. This is the brand. It has an incredible flavor. I actually use this a lot in my cooking. I really, really love it. So normally I would add cumin, paprika, I would add ground coriander. We don't have any, so we won't be using it. And what I'm gonna do is cut up the avocado and dice it up and put it in the lentils. And again, we're gonna use salsa because I don't have cilantro, and I'm not putting onions. So I don't eat black pepper, and my husband doesn't eat onions. So because of that, I would have normally added red diced onions as well, because I think that would go amazing with this. But we don't eat that in my family either. So we add the avocado. I probably would add a little bit more avocado to this ratio, but I think this is fine. And I'm gonna add the lime juice. And then we're gonna add some olive oil. And we're gonna add the salsa and we're gonna mix it up. And then for the salsa, you just add as much as you think you want. If you want it to be a bit more soupy, you add more salsa, but if you just want it a little bit of flavor, then we will just add this. And so you see that this looks incredible. Look at all the colors, and you can see we have green, we have orange, we have red in here, and I'm sure it's gonna be very flavorful. I don't know if can everyone see okay?
Nina, pointed at the other camera. The other camera is what's actually...
Oh, yes, okay. Sorry about that, everyone.
No problem.
There you go.
Perfect.
So this is the Mexican flavored lentil salad. And then I'm just gonna go over the Mediterranean one as well. And this would be the Mediterranean flavored. So this is a really great healthy way to eat while you're in quarantine. So the story story about this one, I wanted to make an Asian one as well. So this is what I have for the Asian. So the story about this is I had sauteed, I just tried to use a lot of our vegetables. I don't want them to go bad. We get a subscription to Misfits box. It's a CSA basically, and they just send boxes of vegetables and produce to your home. We love the Co-op, but we're not in New York right now. So we have continued getting Misfits boxes so that we have access to organic vegetables. So a lot of the things, we get a large box, so I have to really find creative ways to go through all the vegetables before they go bad. So I had sauteed mushrooms just with garlic, very basic. I didn't add any flavor to it. And I also sauteed the green beans that we had received. So I thought to myself, well, this is a great base for an Asian flavored lentil dish. So I will add this. I also would add some ginger. That's actually something I forgot. I have ginger. I can't find ginger in the supermarkets here, which is crazy because it's such a basic spice to have. But essentially I bought some frozen. I'm gonna go get it, one moment. I intended on taking it out of the freezer ahead of time, but I forgot. So I'm gonna add a cube of this frozen ginger, which has worked out really well. It's convenient. I don't need to use the microplane for it. And for different flavor profiles, so when you think of Asian food, you think of mushrooms, beans, ginger. We have some sesame oil. I actually don't love this sesame oil. It's quite strong in flavor, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but for a more neutral sesame seed oil, I would go with the one that's at the Co-op. I can't think of the name of it, but it's not as dark as this in color. And then when you eat it, it's quite mild. So it's a lot easier to use it in a lot of, you can use it in a variety of things. And so I also wanted to use, one moment. Rice vinegar. So again, rice vinegar is a big part of Asian cooking, but if you don't have rice vinegar, you can substitute that with like red wine vinegar or an apple cider vinegar. Not everybody has rice vinegar at hand, but this would go really well with the flavor profiles of Asian food. Also, so I'm gonna mix this one up. Obviously, it's gonna be a little bit different because we don't have the ginger marinated with all this, but this is a really easy Asian salad that you can have. And you can add, I would add cilantro to this if I had it. Corn would be great with this. Maybe bok choy, like chopped up bok choy, chopped up broccoli. There's a lot of different things that you can add. Basically, whatever is in your house, you can just put it in there and then add some Asian flavors to it to make it fit that flavor profile. And so for the last lentil salad today is the most basic, I would say. So I had orange, white, and yellow carrots at home, and I just chopped them up really small. These are really crunchy, so you want to make sure that you get smaller bites of it because you don't want it to overpower the dish. And then I also had celery that I chopped up. And so what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to actually make a tuna lentil salad. So I have a can of tuna fish that I'll be using for my next dish, and I thought we could also add it to this lentil salad as well to add a little bit of protein, more protein, because lentils do have protein, just plant-based. So I have my can of tuna fish here. If you have a higher quality tuna fish that's normally found in olive oil, that is a wonderful substitute as well. But we don't have that. So we're just adding this tuna fish from the can and just going to break it up in here. And I'm gonna add dill to it because I do think that dill, well, normally everyone eats tuna fish with dill and mayo and celery. So this is going to have some dill. And then for a vinaigrette, because these all need vinaigrettes, I'm just gonna make a balsamic vinaigrette. So I'm gonna add balsamic vinegar and olive oil and salt. So here's some olive oil. And here's my balsamic vinegar. And salt. Just gonna mix this up. Bowls are a little bit too small, but this is all I have. So I guess you would see that the theme is that basically to be a good cook and to be able to cook easily is to not really have restrictions and not think, well, I can't make anything or I can't cook because everything has to be perfect. In fact, I think it's quite the opposite. I think the cooks that are the best are the ones that can really improvise with what they have and just think of things in categories and then put them together in that category. And so this is a great tuna salad with lentil in it. It's very easy to make, as you can see. And once we're done with this call, I'll be eating them all, and I hope that they'll be really delicious. So before we go to the next thing, does anyone have any questions? No? Okay. So I'm going to make a tuna salad that's super different, and it sounds really weird, but it is delicious. So I have to give credit to one of my really close friends in my MBA program. He's Singaporean by nationality, but he has lived in the United States for his undergrad, and he also had lived in France for 10 years by the time I had met him. And so we used to go hiking together a lot, and he would always bring this tuna fish with a baguette, of course, that was just made from olive oil and honey. And the reason I wanted to provide this recipe today was because it's just something that most people have olive oil at home, and all of us have honey, most of us. And so I thought it's just, if you're, you know, in a bind and you don't have something, if you don't have mayo and if you don't have some herbs or some vegetables to chop up to put in a tuna sandwich, believe me, it sounds strange. Who would think to put honey with tuna? But it's phenomenal. And I always think of him whenever I make this. So I'm gonna just grab a bowl so I can mix the tuna.
I have a question from somebody. Somebody was asking if you were gonna post these recipes, but I felt like part of your class had to do with the fact that you're not using recipes. How do you feel about that? And will you be posting some of these, even if they're just ingredient lists for the different salads you made?
Yeah, I mean, so what I'll do is I'll just post it on my Instagram, and people can go on my Instagram to see. I'll put a post up in the next few days about different flavor profiles and how I came to make these different lentil salads based on that.
For your super delicious with Nina.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Nina, can you also just send it to me when you get it ready? And
Sure.
I'll post it on the Co-op Cooking website too.
Okay, great.
Both places.
So I just smashed up the tuna, and basically the amount of olive oil and honey is really up to you. I don't like dry tuna, so I'm being generous with the amount of olive oil that I'm adding. So I want it to be moist and luscious. So you'll see here that it's not dry at all, and that's how I like it. And I have some honey here, and that's literally all you need to make this. And again, this is personal preferences as well. I'm just gonna add probably like about a tablespoon to it. And you know, obviously if you taste it, what I would do is I'd recommend starting off with a small amount and just adding more as you taste, because you might at first taste not like the honey, or you might think it's sufficiently sweetened. But if you think that it could be good with some more, just add a little bit as you go. And that's a great thing with such a simple recipe. You won't ruin it. Just go a little bit, you know, as you go. So this is the tuna fish, and I would have this with toast, or if you're lucky, a baguette. And it's really, really simple and really delicious. Has anyone ever had anything like that? Or does anyone else have any type of tuna type salad that they have a cool recipe to? Because this is the most, like, I literally always just have celery, mayonnaise, dill. Again, we don't eat onions in my family. Normally I'd add onions and some celery salt. And so this was really groundbreaking for me to learn this recipe. Does anyone else have something cool that they can share with the group?
I think hardly anyone's had tuna with honey. That's what it seems. But I love making tuna fish salad with just olive oil and a little salt.
Yeah.
And lemon. I mean, basically, you're just removing the egg component of what mayonnaise is made out of. But so you're kind of you're simplifying the tuna fish salad idea by just using a fat on the tuna fish. And then if you want to put a little lemon, that's also kind of like another ingredient in mayonnaise. So
I love lemon. I always add lemon to everything, as I mentioned. So
I've also made tuna fish with chopped up apples and raisins and curry.
Yeah, that's super good too. That's a great, I mean, you see a lot of chicken salads prepared that way, but I think it's great to be able to use tuna to substitute the chicken as well. And some walnuts, that'd be really good.
Yeah.
Somebody said that they just drizzle the honey on top instead of mixing it into the salad.
So I guess this is found with other people. It's not just this one friend who added honey to his tuna. So the third and final dish that I wanted to share is when I did my cooking class in the beginning of March, I did it for the Persian New Year. So it was all Persian dishes. And this is one that I taught because it's really easy. It's so delicious and everyone really loves it. So this is also something you can add things to that you have that fit the flavor profile, or you can omit them depending on what the availability is. So basically, I have Persian cucumbers here. And so if I was to tell you the ratios of I'm only making a small amount because we only have this yogurt and I don't want to use the whole thing for this recipe. So I'm just going to use a little bit. So if I was to use this 32-ounce container of yogurt, I would shred 3 Persian cucumbers. So the Persian cucumbers I have are actually broken, but Persian cucumbers are usually around this big. So you would just use this grater to shred 3 of those in here. And then, but I'm just going to use 1. So I'm just going to use 1/3 of that. And normally, cucumber has a lot of juice in it and a lot of water, and you would want to drain it because you don't want the yogurt to be very watery. However, I've noticed that these cucumbers aren't that watery, so I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to leave it as is, and we're just going to eat this anyway, so we're not going to be storing this for later. So I'm just going to finish with this. And then, so for Persian spices, we talked about Mediterranean, we talked about Asian, Mexican spices. So the flavor profile in Persian cooking is very savory and also herby. So what you would do for this yogurt is you would add a lot of mint, actually, dried spearmint. Unfortunately, I don't have any, which I didn't realize that I didn't bring any from home, but it's going to be fine.
You could open up a bag of tea as well.
We don't have any tea. We just have bags.
I'm talking to the people at home. If they don't have mint, like oh, I've got a jar of mint, they could also just open up a tea bag.
And at the co-op, for all the co-op members that are on, the co-op does have bagged peppermint in the tea aisle. So I think it's aisle 5 or 6 where the loose teas are, you'll see that there is actually peppermint. That's where I always get it. So it's considered a tea, but Persians use it a lot in their foods. You also, in that same aisle, in that same section, you have rosebuds, edible rosebuds. And so if I had that, I would add this to this yogurt. With other Persian stuff is a lot of rose flavor, rose water is popular. We have mint. We have the cumin is a little bit in the cooking. You would add cumin. Turmeric is very popular. The obvious is saffron. But in this yogurt dip, it's called maso khiar, which means yogurt with cucumber. That's all that means. You would add mint to this or any other fresh herbs. Tarragon's a popular herb in Persian cooking. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the dill that I have here. Don't want any tuna in that. So we have some dill. If you have dried dill, works great as well. Salt, you want this to be savory, so you want to add a good amount. Well, I love salt, so I mean, I think salt makes everything so good. So you want to add some salt to it, which is, you know, very counterintuitive to a lot of, you know, American cooking, is because Americans typically eat yogurt as a sweet thing and not a savory thing. But in Persian cooking, yogurt is always savory. So what we're going to do is, what I love about this dish is you can actually create this really amazing flavor profile, because what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to add raisins to this. So there you have this really salty, savory, plain yogurt, and then you're going to add bits of raisins to it to add like a nice, you know, heartiness to it, but also to add a little bit of sweet, which isn't, you know, fruit flavored sweet like American yogurts, but it has a little sweetness to it. And then another thing that's amazing is chopped walnuts. Unfortunately, my daughter does have a walnut allergy, so we no longer have that as an option, but at home you can add chopped walnuts to this and it's incredibly delicious. So the more things you add to it, like if you wanted to increase the ratio of cucumber, this is a great snack. I mean, it's really hearty, depends on how much you know, stuff you want to put in it. But the way that Persians actually eat this is with potato chips. So if you have plain potato chips and you decided that you are having a bad day and you just need to have some chips, you would just take, I love the kettle chips. I just would dip the kettle chips and eat it. So with the Persian culture, that's like everyone's like sinful treat, is this yogurt dip with that. Another thing that came to mind just right now is you can in fact mix lentils in with this as well. So let's just say you have your lentil salad here, and you would add this as the dressing to the lentil. And what I would do is add a little bit of something acidic to it. So I would do, like in Persian cooking, lime is really popular. I would add, you know, some lime to it as well. So, you know, there's a lot you can do with it. You can use it as a savory, you know, decadent snack with chips, or you can add it to your a lentil salad, or you can serve it on the side of a meal that you're having, like, you know, rice with dill in it, which is a very common Persian meal with some lamb. So these are the three things that I came up with for this class. Again, really focusing on the fact that cooking can be really easy if you just think of it in categories. So you think, oh, tonight I'm in the mood for Thai. Like, what are the spices and, you know, tastes of Thai food? And, you know, finding all those things and putting it in the food. Or I want to make something that's Persian centric. It doesn't have to be a Persian recipe, but you can add flavors to something basic, like, you know, braise some beef, like braise some short ribs and add some Persian flavors to it. And there you have like a Persian slant on short ribs. And so I'm going to one by one, again, show you guys all of the different salads we made and how easy it was. So we have here our tuna with our lentils. And again, we have carrots and celery and dill in this. And then we have our Asian flavored salad with mushrooms and green beans and ginger and sesame oil and rice vinegar. We have our Mexican one, which has tomatoes. Oh, I'm sorry, it doesn't have tomatoes. It has our bell peppers and avocado. And since we didn't have tomato for this, or any cilantro, or really a lot of other ingredients, I just added salsa to it to give it a little kick and give it some moisture. And then lastly, we have the Mediterranean lentil salad. And over here I did the Persian cucumbers, the cherry tomatoes. We have the artichokes and feta cheese with dill and with olive oil and lemon juice and lemon zest. So that's it. Does anyone have any questions, or does anyone have something in their pantry that they don't really know what to do with and want to brainstorm?
So I think this is a great time to break out, and if anybody has some kind of odd ingredient or even a ubiquitous one in their pantry that they want Nina's advice about, I think this is a good time to throw it onto your chat and we can address it right now. So are you gonna have all this lentil salad for for dinner?
I guess so. I mean, I think we can put it in Tupperware and eat it over the next.
Yeah. There's a question about brown lentils.
Sure. What is it?
Are they useful outside of soups? I'm assuming that you could kind of replace the green for the brown, no?
These are actually brown lentils.
Okay.
I didn't have the green lentils.
Okay.
In fact, I think for soups, brown lentils are wonderful, but I love red lentils in soups even more.
Canned peas.
Peas, so green peas.
Mm-hmm. Canned peas.
So for the canned peas, if you want some ideas, I think canned peas with rice, mixed in with rice, is really good.
Mm-hmm.
With some dried dill or some fresh dill. And I'd say I would add canned peas to like a lentil salad. You could that could be an Asian slant as well. Just take the lentil, add the canned peas to it, and add some, depending on what flavor profile you want. You could do Mediterranean with that, or you could do Asian.
Mm.
And
sometimes I make a pea hummus, but usually frozen peas. Yeah. Same recipe as like a regular hummus recipe, except you use peas and mint instead. Someone was asking if you know what to do with fenugreek seeds.
No. Well, so fenugreek seeds are used in Indian cooking. And I know I used to have an Indian roommate, and he used to use it. And I remember he would saute it in butter, and he would make an egg dish with it. Like it was like this egg bake with really finely chopped up potatoes and onions. And then he would add the fenugreek seeds to it. But unfortunately, I'm not that familiar other than that.
The only use I know of fenugreek is to just take like half a teaspoon of fenugreek seeds and make it into a very highly digestive tea.
Okay.
Yeah. Same with fennel seeds too. They're asking about fennel.
Oh, I love fennel. I use fennel a lot in my cooking. Fennel is one of my favorite spices. Whenever I make Italian food, I always add fennel to it. When I make meatballs, fennel's always part of that, my recipes. In fact, for this Mediterranean salad, I would say that fennel seeds would go really well. I wouldn't overdo it. I mean, I love this flavor of fennel, so I do overdo it, but I don't think that, I think it's something you start putting a little bit in, and then if you want more, you subsequently add more.
Yeah. There was a note from somebody who said you can use fenugreek to add a savory twist to pancakes. They're a little bit bitter and have a bit of a maple flavor. But yeah, they're strong, fenugreek. Another idea for fennel seeds to use with braised red cabbage. That's a Jamie Oliver kind of recipe. Okay. Yeah. But to soak the fenugreek first, I guess when you use fenugreek, you have to soak it out first. A lot of compliments on the class, so.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And if you want to follow me, I cook a lot. I'm cooking tons these days, more than ever. I don't have a gym to go to. I don't have grocery shopping to run to 3 times a week, or don't have any errands. So I'm using that time to cook. So I'm posting at least once or twice a day on my Instagram page. So if you'd like to follow me just to see what I'm cooking, if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to engage. I love having these conversations. My conversations are mostly with my 2-year-old, so it's a really nice distraction from all that.
Okay. All right. So how are you feeling? I think it was a great class, and I think people learned a lot. So hopefully, if you're on our email list, we're trying to offer more classes as they become available. And yeah, let's just keep on cooking, because what else are we gonna do? All right.
Thanks so much for all the participants for joining. I really appreciate you showing up, and I hope that you have some new ideas about what you can cook for dinner in the next week. And I literally didn't have a single recipe in mind. I just went through my fridge and said, okay, we have these things. What can we make from this? So it's really that simple. It could be that simple.
Okay, excellent. Well, thank you everybody for jumping on board, and we hope you lots of peace and happiness and good eating.
And good health.
Very special time, yeah. All right, everyone. Thank you.
Everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.